Hello! I think we are in business, finally. I do have trouble with this stuff. I get it all going and I'm ready, and then it just goes, I'm not playing. So I do apologise, I'm a little bit later than I want it to be, but here we are. How is everybody? Another Thursday night has come around and I'm very excited about this one. Well, I'm always excited to come and talk to you all. But this one is really something I'm passionate about, and that is stencils. So we're going to be having a look at the Stencil Vault Part 2. And of course, alongside stencils, you can just put pretty much anything you want with them. So I'm going to be looking at the new Enchanted Sprinkles, which are gorgeous and amazing. And we're going to look at the Gemstones texture paste as well. And we're going to look at the Elite Misters. Oh, so much, so much. Hopefully you can stay tuned and watch what I'm going to be up to. So, hello people. Let's say hello to some... Excuse me, I've got lurgy, so I'm a bit fragile tonight, but I'll see what I can do. Hello to Yvonne and Sheila and Bethan. Hi Diane, good to see you again. Hello Jamie. Thank you for being here. I was having a panic then for a minute again. Hello May and Kim and Sally. Hi Sally, you've made it. Yeah, so as I say, we're going to be mainly looking at the stencils because I absolutely adore stencils. There are so many things you can do with them. I'm only going to be scratching the surface tonight, but maybe in the future we can come back and do some more techniques. So tonight's really more about techniques than it is about card making, but we will hopefully get a few things put together. Hi Kath and Kathleen and Joyce. Thank you so much. It's always really lovely to have your company and have you with us. So thank you so much for joining us and being there. And I hope you're going to enjoy what I've got in store for you tonight. But before we get into all that, we have our news headlines. Da, da, da. So Jamie did his Monday night natter. And there was a lot going on, wasn't there? A lot to talk about then. So his homework for you all on that Monday night was #traditional. And what he was asking you to do was create a Christmas project. It can be anything you like, as long as it was made in traditional Christmas colours. So your red, gold and green, not your alternatives, which are beautiful, but for this occasion we're sticking with very traditional red, gold and green. So #traditional to enter your makes on the Create with Jamie Rodgers page, and the winner will be selected at 5 p.m. on Monday the 30th and announced on the page. My winner for my last Thursday night natter was Christine Bentley, so congratulations Christine, and thanks for joining it in. Your cards are on the way. Sorry, I was a bit late getting them off. And I have, it's not really homework from me, but a question. So I'll come back to that in a little while. A question where you'll be able to win something that I make tonight or something that I've got made in relation to tonight. So keep an eye out for that, or an ear rather. If we do have any stockists watching by any chance, do feel free to pop your links in the comments so that people can find out where you are, who you are, and if you're in their local vicinity, hopefully come and visit, because we obviously want to support our stockists, and I am one of them. So if you're in my neck of the woods, please remember that I'm here and come and see me. I'd love to see you as well. Hi Karen, hi Maureen. So what else? So next Monday, Jamie's Monday night natter will be a sneaky peek. Now I can't wait for this. I'm so excited because he's sneaky peeking something to do with Christmas. Can't wait. So don't miss that. That's Monday night at 7 with Jamie. So I think that's all my bits of news for now. I will come back to my question a little bit later. So for now, what I'd like to do is run through this new Stencil Vault. It's part 2, and it's another 20 DL stencils. Now these, Jamie freely admits he's not designed these, he's paid for these designs and bought the rights to use them. So he's able to bring a huge selection very quickly to us, and that's fantastic. So I'm going to go through them. They've all got names and numbers, and I have got some samples that I can show you for most of them. I think I'm just missing one, but we're doing well. So let's have a look at those. Okay, so I'll just go back to my overhead camera. All right, so here we have number 21, and this is Woven Lines. My camera's frozen, blooming it. Don't start giving me bother again. I can't cope. Okay, so this one is Woven Lines number 21, and we have a lovely card here made by Wendy. And you can see those beautiful woven lines in the background. And doesn't it suit the steam train really well? It's almost like a train track sort of, or a sort of railway. I don't know, there's something about it that just fits. So that's number 21, Woven Lines. And then we have number 22, which is Drops of Wonder. This is lovely. These little shapes could be anything really. Little balloons. It's fabulous for a birthday celebration or something like that. So that's number 22, Drops of Wonder. And I love this because it shows that you don't have to use the whole stencil. You can just use a part of it and make a smaller card should you wish to do that. So there we have Drops of Wonder, number 22. Number 23 is Oriental Screen, and it looks like what it says. It's lovely, isn't it? I can see that done in black and gold. That'd be really fantastic, really striking, wouldn't it? We have a lovely card here from Ian, and Ian has done it in sort of Wedgwood blue, just a blue and white, but he's turned this into a trifold card. So we've got that pattern repeated through the sections, some of those lovely rippled star blooms, and obviously a panel here to put your greeting or sentiment or whatever it is you want to put in there. So that is number 23, Oriental Screen. I think it's lovely to be able to show you samples so you can actually see what they look like. Now I'm pretty sure this is going to probably be the most favourite. This is number 24, G is for Giraffe. And I have an amazing card here from Diane, who's done it twice but flipped the stencil over so that you get left and right facing giraffes. Isn't that gorgeous? And she's used another stencil on the front here, so I'll come back to this card, and then she's used even another one inside, so we'll be seeing this again shortly. So this is number 24, G for Giraffe. Then we have number 25, Triangles. Now this is the one I'm missing a sample for, and I didn't realise till it was too late. So you can see it's made up of lots of different little triangles. It's a really lovely pattern, quite asymmetric as well. Then we have number 26, Diagonal Swish. So this is quite a flowing design. It could be leaves, it could be foliage, it could be water, any of those things. And here's a lovely card. This one's by Lynn. She's obviously, it's made her think of water, and she's teamed that up with that fantastic ocean liner from the Vintage Travel Collection. Then we have number 27, Faded Squares. And I love this because it gives you a real sense of sort of fading out and almost of movement as well, so it's really lovely. So number 27, Faded Squares, and here's a beautiful card where that panel has been just used down one side of the card. So again, just because these are DL stencils doesn't mean your only option is to make a DL card. So I love that, I think this is Lynn, yes, I love that Lynn is showing you that option here. So number 27, Faded Squares. We could be here till midnight because I have a lot to talk about. Number 28, cubed squares. Here's a lovely example of that, and I love that this has been done in two tones so that you can really get the full effect of those cube designs. Isn't that clever? Absolutely gorgeous. And the other nice thing about these, of course, is that you don't have to do much to them. Once you've done your stenciling, you've got your background, it's just a matter of adding a focal point or a sentiment, really. So this one is number 29, Swish Swoosh. And this is a beautiful card here that's been done with the clear texture paste with some of the gilding flakes mixed into it and then put through that stencil. I love that. And then I think the clear texture paste has also been used over some card to create the flower as well, and that, because that flower is really stiff, it really holds its shape. Oh, excuse me. So that's number 29, Swish Swoosh. I'll try not to expire live on air. Number 30, Get to the Point. I love this. This one's been embossed, dry embossed, through the embossing machine, the die cutting machine, and it's been done with just a few of the lines picked out with some ink, and then one of Jamie's earlier car collections. So that's number 30, sorry, Get to the Point. I think that was by Wendy as well. Yeah, lovely. Okay, and then next we've got, this is by Lynn, and this is to show Faded Hexagons, number 31. So here we have a card where she's used the positive and the negative from this stencil. So that's when you put colour through the stencil. I'm sorry, this might not go well tonight. And then you use the stencil to press to get the negative of the pattern. So, and she's put them side by side, which is a lovely effect, isn't it? I love that. Then we've got number 32, Piano Keys. This again, a very striking design, and obviously this is going to lend itself to going with Jamie's musical collection. So this is a fabulous card. Oh, I'm sorry. I think this is Wendy's. Yeah, Wendy's done this fabulous card, and she has brought in that lovely piano and the music DL stamp there as well. So that's your number 32, Piano Keys. I should have said to you bring a pencil and paper, because there's a lot of information and it might help to just jot things down. I don't know. But Emma's done a lovely run through of these stencils where she tells you what they all are and swatched them as well. And you can find that on Jamie's page. So this is number 33, Diagonal Dashes. And again, a fabulous card by Wendy. Showing us how you can use it twice, so you're not just stuck with using one DL panel. A lot of these patterns match up really well, so you can put them side by side and increase the surface area that you cover. So you've got one panel there and one panel there, and that's been inked through quite simply with possibly Black Panther, possibly Elephant Grey. And then she's teamed that up with some of the mechanical collection with these lovely cogs and those gorgeous corners. So that's another beautiful one. Now this one, I must admit, when I first saw this, I thought exactly the same thing, that it looks like underpants. It looks like old wire fronts. So this is number 34, but it's actually called Woven Links. And when you look at it, yes, it is woven links, almost like rope or something like that. But Diane, she had to go and do it, didn't she? But I love this. Sorry you're feeling pants. And she's really taken it to the next level with pants. But she has put Superman on there, or a superhero. So I think that's fantastic. And that's just, you know, a little snippet of how Diane's mind works, which I think is amazing. And we have number 35, Tricky Triangles. Now this is another one that I really enjoy looking at, because it fades again from larger to smaller. So you get that graduation, and Wendy's done a lovely job on here with this. This is the panel, and we've got a little bit of glitter going on here. I think what she's done, sorry, is stenciled with a clear texture paste, and then either sprinkled glitter or she's mixed the glitter in first and then put it through. I would imagine it's the second option that she's done. But anyway, either way, beautiful. And then I believe this is the Cosmos flower, which isn't one I've had, so I'm not familiar with it, but I think it might be. But don't quote me. Okay, and then number 36, Zigzag. So this is quite a striking pattern. It's not only zigzags, but the edges are zigzagged as well, so it's one of those that might send your eyes a bit funny. And here's a fabulous example of how to use that. It's very retro to me, that one, and it reminds me of the sort of 70s. Don't know why, but it does. But there we go. So that's number 36, Zigzag. Then we've got number 37, Layered Maze, and this is a lovely design, geometric, classical, and we have a beautiful example here with some of the fantastic new Enchanted Sprinkles put through the stencil, and then just a simple die cut flower on the front. How elegant and beautiful is that? So that's number 37, Layered Maze. And then we also have to go back to this card of Diane's, where she's used the Layered Maze on these two front panels. So using DL as a gatefold is a great idea. And she's combined a couple of the gemstones texture paste. I think we've got Heliodor, which is the really bright gold, and then we've also got rose quartz, which is a slightly pinkier rose gold kind of colour. And then we come to Crazy Paving. Please excuse mine, it's been used and it's mucky. Number 38, Crazy Paving. And here's another work of art by Diane. Brightly coloured, and then the black gemstones texture paste over that. So that one's black onyx. I'm going to be showing you a technique with that hopefully as well later on. So that is your number 38, Crazy Paving. Nearly there. Number 39, Squared Tracks. So again, this is going to be fabulous with some of the cards that Jamie's brought out, and also the travel collection and that sort of thing, or just as a really lovely geometric pattern. And here's a really lovely example. Again, oh, I'm sorry, clear texture paste, Enchanted Sprinkles on top of that, in a variety of colours, and then let to dry, and dressed up with the best mum in the world. Isn't that lovely? So that's number 39, Squared Tracks. And last but by no means least, because again another really popular one, is our Raining Coffee Beans, number 40. Now this is the one that Diana's used inside this card, and can you see how she's used it with a rubber mat through the die cutting machine to emboss that texture, and it goes right the way through this card. There's even a panel down the centre, there's a panel here that's been used for the sentiment, and another panel here. It's gorgeous, isn't it? So that's Coffee Beans. And then we have another one here. I do believe this is Diane as well. Diane's getting a showcase tonight, and why not? So what she's done here, which is really clever, she's used that coffee bean stencil, but she's doodled in it to make little leaves to create this fab frame, and then used it with the giraffe as well. So that's lovely, isn't it? So lots of variety there. I hope that's given you some inspiration as to what you can do with these amazing stencils. And do check out with your local stockists to see if they've got them in stock, and get your little hands on those, because they're well worth having. Okay, so I'll come back and say a few hellos just while I straighten things up a bit. Excuse me. I'm sorry, but this is how I am at the minute. It's going to go on. Oh, hi everybody. Let me go back and say hello. Hi Ian, Michelle, lovely to have you here, and Anne, hello. Hello Emma. She loves Diane's underpants. I don't think they're Diane's underpants, but you never know. Nicola, Christine, hi, and congratulations again. Okay, so I think there's enough of you here now for me to give you a little bit of a a question, and somebody can be a winner tonight for something that I've made. So we'll pick a winner at random, and it will be announced on Jamie's page. And then all we ask you to do, if you are the lucky winner, is to message us privately and give us obviously your address, if you want the things signing or not, and then we can get that organised for you. So my question is this: what would you call the giraffe? So it doesn't have to begin with G, but if you had to name that giraffe, what would you call it? And that's the question. So we will pick a winner at random. So answers on a postcard. Well, obviously not, answers in the comments. And good luck. Hopefully somebody will win some goodies from me. So what else are we going to look at tonight? Well, I'm going to quickly run through some of the products I'm going to be using, and then we'll get stuck into doing some techniques. So let me show you some of the other bits I'm going to be working with. Not all of the colours, but I thought I'd run through the colours with you because I haven't been through these with you. So you might not have seen them, and it never does any harm to look at things again, does it? So this is the Gemstones Glitter Texture Paste. This is what I would call a medium-bodied gel, and it's packed with glitter. And this is the exact same glitter that you can get loose from Jamie, so the colours match absolutely perfectly, which is nice because you can coordinate your projects, and you could use glitter on the flowers and this through a stencil, or you know, whatever it is you want to do. So we have rose quartz, which is a gorgeous, almost like a rose gold. Black onyx speaks for itself. Aquamarine, that is just beautiful. And this one is amethyst. Look at that. Oof, gorgeous, isn't it? And they are really rich, these, rich in colour. This one is your emerald green. This is going to probably make some appearances over the next couple of weeks, saying no more. Ruby red, beautiful red. Imagine Dorothy's slippers in that one. This one I particularly like. This, I've used this a lot. Mine's nearly empty actually. Larimar. It's like a periwinkle, or yeah, I'd call that a periwinkle blue. Yeah, really lovely. Then we've got pink sapphire. I wish. Beautiful, delicate pink. We've got Heliodor, which is a beautiful bright gold, very rich, very striking. Argentine, which is a silver, really lovely. And then we have violet sapphire, which is a beautiful pinky lilac, I would call that. And I'm just missing one, which is up here because I'm going to be using it, and this is your diamond white. So that's going to be great as well for the next couple of weeks and after that, leading up to the big day. So keep an eye out for these in the upcoming releases. Alright, so that's the Gemstones Texture Paste. I'm not going to spend too long on those, but I am going to be using them, so they'll make an appearance again. What else? Oh yeah, now you saw me working with these last week, the Elite Misters. If you missed any of the lives, Jamie's on a Monday and mine on a Thursday, apart from one blip that we had. You can catch them all now on YouTube, so you can go and search for the one that you missed or that you'd like to see again or whatever it might be. And I did use these last week to make some backgrounds, so if you want to see those, you can check back to that one. So we've got Night Sky Navy, Heritage Green, Rose Petal Pink, Gladiator Red, Seashell Blue and Sunbeam Yellow, and that's the 6 colours that we have at the moment in those. Okay, and then of course I've got to talk to you about the Enchanted Sprinkles. Now these are really something incredible. I know we've had products like this, Jamie and I have both worked with them in the past. You might be thinking, well, I've got those other products, why do I need these? Well, you just do. You're crafters. You need them. However, I would say, having now had some time to get to grips with these and play with them, they are different. And again, our lovely Emma has done a run-through video of these, showing you all the colours and what they look like when you use them. But if you've not seen that, or you've not seen any products like these before, they are a bottle absolutely packed to the ginnels with a dye and mica. So very concentrated. It's a dry powder. It's absolutely packed with a dry dye powder and mica. So these are activated by water. So any sort of moisture will make these explode into firework colours. They really are something else. And I have some swatches here so that I can show you them as they will look when you activate them with the water. So this one is our Christmas red. I just have to find the right one. Here we are. So you wouldn't think, would you, looking at that in the bottle, that this is what you're going to get. And depending how much water you apply, you can create very different patterns with these. You can create sort of dry, almost speckled texture with not a lot of water, down to really wispy, fine, delicate water effects with lots and lots of water. If you are going to be using a lot of water, I definitely recommend a watercolour cardstock or a mixed media cardstock. All the cardstock we work on has been Jamie's Polar White, and it stands up to it really well. So that's one option. Then we're going to look at this one, which is Cherry Pop. So this is a really fiery pink. Again, these don't look very exciting in the bottle. They have got a colour swatch on the side, which is really quite accurate, so that's helpful. But that's your Cherry Pop. This one is Tidal Teal, which is here. I love this. Now, some of these give off mostly one colour, but some of them do split into more than one colour, which is really quite exciting. And again, it depends how much water you add as to how much of that effect you're going to see. So that's your Tidal Teal. Now, this one is rapidly becoming my favourite, and this one is called Circuit Breaker. As you can see down this side here, you've got like a scarlet red, you've got an aquamarine blue, you've got this amazing platinum, black, there's green in there. It's incredible. So there you go, that's your Circuit Breaker. Then we have Stormy Skies, which is this beautiful dark turquoisey, quite moody blue green kind of mix, a very dark teal actually, and I love that. And it's got a silver sort of overlay to it, this one, which is fabulous. So that's Stormy Skies. And then we've got Golden Yellow, which is this one. Excuse me. This one obviously has got yellow in it, but it's also got apricot and yellow and peach and even little tiny specks of teal in there as well. It's amazing what comes out with these. I absolutely adore these. And they are way more concentrated than any that I've worked with before. Way more. They're absolutely, like I say, packed to the gunnels with dye. This one is Decadent Purple. Let me find the right one. That's Decadent Purple. There we go. Now this is amazing because it's got a whole host of pinks, purples, lilacs, silver, aubergine, blue, you name it, it's in there. Absolutely stunning. So these you can, as we've said, mist and spritz, or wet your paper and then tap, or you can mix them into water and use them as a paint. I'll show you this in a sec. There's so many ways to use these. They're unbelievable. Now we've got a couple of really beautiful greens. This is the Christmas green, and isn't it just? Look at that, it's just stunning. And I love you get these kind of fossily, fungally kind of patterns coming through. Really great. Diane has said a link to Emma's video would be great. It would. I can't do it right now, sorry. But perhaps if Jamie could find that and pop it in the comments, that would be amazing. Thank you. Now my camera seems to have frozen again. Here we go. Okay, Coral Pink. This is a very pretty colour, isn't it? And it's really corally. But it has pinks and peaches, a little bit of gold in this one. coppery, sort of copper gold, really pretty. So that's your coral pink. And this one's really in your face, isn't it? This is Orchid, beautiful, bright cerise almost, isn't it? There we go, Orchid. And then this one has to be our spring green. Now I know this is one of the ones which shows up in lots of different colours. So you've got some orange and yellow in here, you've got greens and teals and all sorts. It's a beautiful collection of colours in there. Absolutely gorgeous. And finally we have our sunshine yellow, and it is an absolutely beautiful page of sunshine. So there you go, 12 fantastic colours in a fantastic new product, Enchanted Sprinkles by Jamie Rodgers, and I think these are going to sell out very quickly. I know he said he was already quite low on stock, so again, check out with your local stockists if this is something you'd like to look for and see what they can help you with. Alright, let me just pop back and say hello to a few people. Haha, the names are coming in for the giraffe. If you've just joined us, the question for tonight's live is, if you could name our giraffe, what would you call it? We've got that fabulous stencil with the giraffe on there, so I'm asking you to give it a name. So there we go. Alright, Sheila, love that one. Hi Maureen, hi Sue. Oh, there's so many of you here. It's lovely to see you all. I like that, Michelle. That's great. Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Jamie's put a link in now for Emma's video. So if you haven't already seen it, that's certainly worth a look. All right, so let me show you how these actually look when you're in action with them. If I can find all my bits and pieces. Yet again, I start out organised and then it all goes horribly wrong. Where's all my card gone? There we are. Right. Okay, back to the overhead. Here we go. So I'm just working on, as I say, some of Jamie's Polar White, and I'm just going to grab a colour at random. Ooh, let's not keep going for that. Let's go for this Decadent Purple. I'll just pop these ones out of the way. Okay. So as I say, you really, it's up to you how little or much you do with these. We can sprinkle them on dry. So all you do, you've got a really lovely little nozzle applicator here, and just turn the bottle up and gently tap. And you really don't need very much of this at all. That's probably far too much. I'm just going to grab a bit of scrap paper to go under this. Otherwise I'll be constantly wiping up my map. Right, so just plain water, and look how that pops. Isn't that incredible? And already look, we've got blue, pink, red, which of course are the colours that make up purple. If we take that and add even more water, then the colours are going to blend even more, and then you start to really see the purple. So you wouldn't think, would you, looking at that, this is a Decadent Purple. Look at that, it's like a carnival, isn't it? It's just beautiful. And you can run it around the water. You can use an air blower if you've ever had one of those. I used to use mine with my alcohol inks, but you could use it for this as well and blow them around. That would be amazing as well. Now the other option, well, one of the other options, is to actually wet your card first. And you can see there were some sprinkles that had strayed, and even those are giving colour on that piece of card. So these go a very, very long way. So then if we sprinkle onto the wet card, what happens is it immediately starts to move, and I would say it dissolves more when you do it this way, because obviously it's wet as soon as it hits the card, whereas doing it this way, the dry powder hits the card and sort of clings to it, so it doesn't move as far. But look at that, wow, that is just incredible, isn't it? Decadent Purple, that one, if you like that. So there we go. So that's adding it to dry card and then adding water. This is wetting the card and then adding the powder. Now I know Emma did that with all the colours on her video. So if you really want a graphic of what those powders do, that's a great way to find out. Okay, I'm just going to pop that out of the way. And I want to show you a couple of other things you can do with these. So if I grab another piece of card, and I'm going to use a brush for this. Okay, so what you can do here is add some dry powder to your card. Excuse my scrap paper, it's got Greek on it because my daughter was doing Greek and she asked me to print a load of stuff off, and my printer had a bit of a fit, so I ended up with loads of spares. So I'm just going to put the smallest amount. This one is Stormy Skies. Okay, and then I'm going to squeeze most of the water out of my brush, and then I'm just going to drag my brush. This is great for creating wood grain, and you can also do it with a glaze. It's great if you've got a brush a bit like mine that's a bit splayed, so you want a big flat brush if you can find one, and just drag the damp brush through the powder, and that gives you this amazing sort of wood grain texture. If you did that and then stamped the wood grain on top of it, I wonder what that would look like. Probably quite good. Okay, so that's one idea. And another idea is to actually mix these with water and create a paint. Now obviously when you do that, you're not going to get the sort of variegated colour effect, but it's still a really lovely way to be able to use these. So I'm just going to add. Yeah, that was, I thought I picked up a different bottle. It's still Stormy Skies, that. Look at that. Just honestly, the amount of mica in here is unbelievable. And the concentration of dye makes these so rich. And I always like products that are strong, because you can water them down, you can thin them down. If you start with something that's quite faint, then you can't really go anywhere, can you? Look at this. Ooh. So for creating really quick backgrounds, these are just going to be amazing. And once they're dry, they are still water reactive, so you can do your water spritzing, water dropping, and then pat the colour off to create texture in there, or whatever it is you like to do. But look at that. That's gorgeous, isn't it? And when that dries, it will have the most beautiful mica sheen on there. If I remember, I'll come back to that when it's dry and show you what it looks like. Okay, so that's just a couple of quick ideas. There are lots more. There are so many techniques you can do with these sorts of products, with these powders. So yeah, I'm going to be having great fun over the next few weeks. One other thing I'm going to be using are the metallic ink pads. Now again, I know you've probably seen them all, but there might be somebody who hasn't. So I just want to quickly run through these, because I'm going to be using these as well. I told you it was jam-packed tonight. Alright, so 8 colours in these. These are a very rich metallic ink pad. Fast drying, which is quite unusual for a metallic ink pad. They're a pigment. They are, when they're dry, suitable for alcohol colouring and watercolouring, which is quite unusual, and they can also be heat embossed. So super versatile ink pads. And I have swatched them out here on black and white cardstock, because they do work on both. Hopefully get them in shot. So this one here is your sunset red. No, it's not, I'm lying, sorry. There are 10 colours, of course there are. So this one is your fuchsia pink on white and on black. Then we have Minty Fresh, which is this one on white and black. Sea Breeze Blue. Cactus Green, which is a brighter green. You can see on black cardstock they don't have the same intensity of colour, but they certainly give you that hint of a tint, which I quite like. Then we've got Brushed Gold here. I don't know what's happening with my camera, it keeps freezing. I don't know that it's doing that at your end as well, I'm sorry if it is. So that's your Brushed Gold there. And then if I flip over to these, I need to go that way. I did them on the wrong side, obviously. There we go. So this is your black suede, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's more of a, I'd call it sort of pewter, that, or platinum. It's beautiful. Then we've got Sunset Red, which again is a really lovely, and that shows up really well, doesn't it, on the black. Then we have Silver Lining, which again is, it's a dark silver, that. Again, almost like a platinum, if you like. Then we've got Sunrise Yellow, which is just really vibrant and zingy, really beautiful. And then we have Royal Purple, which again shows up quite well as a lilac on the black. So you can apply these direct from the pad. You can apply them with a brush and blend them, so they're good for going through the stencils. Or you can paint with them. If you squish a bit down on a craft mat and then mix a bit of water, you can paint with these as well. So super versatile. I really, really like these, and I've been using these quite a lot as well. Well, I've been using all the stuff. I mean, it's all so good. It's like, what do you choose? Okay, I'm just going to have a look at a few comments because I'm missing quite a lot. There's so many of you here. Oh, Paul Gunston, that was my dad's name. Not that I knew him, I didn't know my dad. But that was what he was called. So, yes, that wood grain effect is nice, isn't it? Could you ink a stamp using these as a paint, or is it too runny? You absolutely can ink a stamp, yes. The trick is to put the dry powder on your stamp, or ink your stamp with Versamark first. So Versamark ink pad, that's the clear sticky one that you would use for heat embossing. Pop that onto your stamp first, and then sprinkle or tap the powder, or even rub the powder on with your fingers. You will get messy, but you know, that just goes with the territory. So sprinkle the powder onto the stamp, rub it with your fingers so you know the stamp's covered, and then mist lightly with water, and then stamp. You will get initially a very heavy application and probably quite a heavy watercolour effect, but you can do multiple stamps once you've applied that powder to the stamp. This works particularly well on rubber stamps. It will work on clear stamps, on photopolymer stamps, but it is going to stain them. So if that's something you don't like and you can't live with, have a think about that one. Mica powders for resin craft. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, Michelle. Mica's mica, you get better quality, you get better concentration, and certainly these of Jamie's are very high in concentration, so in your resin they're going to be the best probably that you've ever come across. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased. I mean, I am a bit of a geek, and I do love chemistry, and I do love to investigate products and see what's what and how they work and why they do it, and that helps me then to know what I can do with it. So I like to investigate. Just in my opinion, these are the best I've come across. You can also use them like any other mica powder. So if you stamp a stamped image with Versamark and then get a very soft brush and pounce the powders onto that, make sure you pounce, because if you brush you'll disturb the ink. Pounce, and then once the image is all covered, then you can start to circle your brush off the excess, and it will colour your stamped image that way as well. So yeah, really fantastic. Diane, you do surprise me. She says she's not thought about painting with them. Oh good, that's good, Jamie. Hello Michelle, you're in Ireland. How lovely to have you with us. No, we've no rain here. It's been quite a nice day actually. I was looking outside then, sorry. It's still quite sunny here, so I don't know. Anyway, it's just technology, isn't it? It's just me and it don't get on. I'm with Jamie on that one. So, right, let's get cracking because time's a whizzing past and I haven't done it yet. Alright. So, back to some scrap paper. Ignore the Greek on it. So, here I have a piece of card which I've spritzed with Sunbeam Yellow, and all I've done is spritzed it all over the card. I like this though because it's not like getting a piece of orange cardstock or yellow cardstock. You actually get graduation of colour throughout the piece when you spritz, and you can kind of control that a little bit yourself. But what I did want was fairly solid all over colour. So that's the Sunbeam Yellow Elite Mister. Spritz onto that and then let it dry. And then I want to use the giraffe. I've just got to find it now in this mammoth release. Here we are. So here's our gorgeous giraffe. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to ink straight onto the stencil using the black suede metallic ink pad. Okay, I'm just going to put some of the lights on, see if that helps things at all. I know this is a bit distracting, but it's only there for mess. Right, so it doesn't matter which side you do this on, it's just going to mean the giraffe will be reversed, you know, whichever way you do it. So what I do when I want to do this is I just get the ink pad and I press and squidge. Now you could, if you were clever and you thought about it before, put a piece of card underneath this, and as long as you don't move the stencil, you would get a second image of the giraffe from the ink that's going through the stencil. You could make that happen. You see it's just beginning to come through there. So you could get a twofer if that's, you know, like I say, if you think ahead. And then I'm just going to gently tap all over this. I do want to cover the whole thing, and I haven't left myself anything to hold on to, which is a bit silly. Which now makes inking the last little bit tricky, but never mind. There we go. I don't want it absolutely perfect. I don't mind if there's a bit of dark and light going on, but I do want ink on all the stencil to some degree. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put this through my die cutting machine. So I will run through this again. I know we've probably said it lots of times, but you never know. There's somebody that might not know. So your thick base plate or platform, this is going to depend very much on what machine you use. I'm using Spellbinders Platinum. I know Jamie loves the Kit and Caboodle, which has lots of thinner plates. So it will depend on your machine, but I just use my white base plate. I do supplement with a metal shim. I've got a universal metal shim, which is very thin, but it just gives the extra oomph I find my machine needs. Then I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper on top of that, just to protect my machine and plates from the ink. And then I'm going to put my giraffe. Now the reason I haven't picked it up on this piece of paper and used this piece of paper is because this piece of paper has got ink on it, and if I then put my card on that, I'm going to get black splodges all over this. So I need a clean piece of paper, and I'm going to put my stencil face up, making sure my metal plate is underneath it like that. Then I can put this face down on top of the giraffe. Okay. Then I need my rubber mat. Now mine is quite a thick rubber mat. This is one I got from Dreamweaver, but most machines come with their own rubber mat and embossing plate, so I would direct you towards your machine's instructions. You will have them, or there's obviously a lot of help online if you do get stuck, but we can't really give you prescriptive instructions because every machine is slightly different. So I've now got my clear plate on top of all of that, and I'm just running it forwards and backwards through the machine. Now my mat is shorter than my piece of card, so what I'm going to do now is carefully move my mat to the bit that hasn't embossed. I'm going to turn the whole of my platform round and put this end in first. Okay, so hopefully now I can reveal what I've been up to. So rubbing that out. Let's get rid of the metal plate, and the base plate can go back in my machine. Okay, so there we are. Isn't that amazing? All the detail in that beautiful face has come up now on that. And it's quite interesting because the ink doesn't transfer completely and it gives a kind of patchy look, but I like that because you get the orange glow from the spray coming through, so I really quite like that effect. So that's the first step for this project. I'm just going to drop my stencil into water. These inks will stain your stencils a little bit. If that bothers you, I've found stamp cleaner will fetch it off if you need to give it a wipe, or a baby wipe, but they do need something a little bit more than just water to get them off. Okay, so excuse me, the next piece I'm going to do, just let me have a drink of water, dying here. Okay, the next piece I'm going to do is using the coffee bean stencil. Now I want to basically do the same thing, but I'm also sort of creating a reverse effect, if you like. So I'm going to spray my stencil with the Sunbeam Yellow. So I'm only using two inks here. I'm using Sunbeam Yellow in the Elite Misters, and I'm using Black Suede in the metallic ink pads. But I'm using the two inks in different ways across the different elements for this project. So you could put another piece of card under that, and you would get this secondary stencil as well. No reason why not. But I want to do what I did with the giraffe, so I'm going to be embossing this through the machine. So I need my piece of card, I need something to protect my machine, so metal base plate, metal shim rather, and then a piece of paper just to protect everything. And then I'm going to carefully pick this up and put it with the ink facing up. Just let me move my box and then I can show you what I'm doing with my platform. So I've got a metal shim because I need extra oomph there. So just make sure your stencil's on top of that if that's something you need. It may be that you need a piece of card, or you might need to go as strong as a piece of mount board. I don't know. Like I say, every machine is different. Then I'm going to put this piece of card onto the inky surface. Once you've done that, you do need to be careful that you don't move that, because obviously the ink can smudge. And then my rubber mat, and then my one clear cutting plate on top. And that's the platforms for my machine. As I say, yours may be different. Now I'm hoping I'm going to get enough out of this without having to run it through twice. We'll see. Oh yeah, there we go. So we've now got the print from the stencil, the negative of that, and we've got that in the Sunbeam Yellow. So this is going to tie in nicely with our fellow giraffe. Okay, so I've got the two pieces I need now. I need to let that dry, and then what I've done, I won't actually do this because this isn't dry, but put the stencil back over, and then what I've done is inked through with the black suede on a brush, a blending brush, and blended it through the stencil. and that gives me then a kind of almost like an opposite, if you like, for this. These are the two elements that are going to go together to make up this card. So I hope that makes sense. And then all I've done for this is really simple. I've cut this down to the edge of the black. I've got my little guillotine here. So just take it down to the edge of the black section. And the first time I did this, mine didn't print properly in parts. So I went round the edge with the black ink pad and just use it like you would any ink pad to ink the edges. So I'll just do one edge and then you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So just take your ink pad and take it direct to paper and just ink that down the edge. And that will take off any white edge that's there from the card. If you prefer, you can add a little bit of blending to the corners. I do find these metallic inks blend really nicely, but they do take a little bit of working up. They're unusual, and the ink kind of settles out in the pad. So you have to kind of, what I do is tap my brush onto the surface a few times and it kind of activates the ink and brings it up, and then they're good, they're really good. And they blend really nicely as well. So you can blend around the edges just like you would with any other ink, or as I say, you can go direct to the edge with your ink pad. It's entirely up to you. So obviously I've done that on all four sides, and this one it's still a wee bit damp, so I don't want to risk it, but I've inked it black, cut it in half to give myself two panels, mounted it on a black card, told you it was simple, and there we go. But I think sometimes simple's good. You don't always have to be doing amazing fancy stuff, do you? And I think that's quite effective. I like that. That stencil just makes it, doesn't it? It's beautiful. I prefer this one actually because my orange didn't print as perfectly as it just did the second time. So you never know what you're going to get, and I love that as well. So there we are. So that's one little offering. Somebody could win this card if they tell me what it's called, and I can see we've had lots of lovely answers, so thank you for that. Thank you for joining in. It's great fun. So let me come back and have a chat with some of you. Hello again. Thank you so much, you're all very kind. Oh wow, Paul, how funny. Yeah. Oops. Oh, what have I done? I've done something funny to my screen. Hang on, there we are. I shouldn't have been left out today. Oh no, I've lost my camera. Oh dear, it's not going well. Oh, thank you so much. You're all very kind. I liked it, yeah. And as I say, after I'd done the giraffe, I was sort of... Sometimes, you know, you think, oh, yeah, but what am I going to do with it? How am I going to mount it? Because one thing I didn't want to do was 20 DL cards. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to try and bring something a little bit different, and so I was trying to find a different way of mounting it and, you know, bring in the changes, as it were. So yeah, thank you all, that's very kind of you. So I'm glad you enjoyed that one. Alright, let's move on. So now the next one I want to look at, if I can find it, is oh gosh, here we are, the Drops of Wonder. I'm going to do a technique with the Drops of Wonder, so let me go back to my overhead. This one, I love this one. Don't know why. Why do we ever like things? It's just because they appeal to us, don't they? Now my nose is running. Please excuse me a minute. Oh dear. At least you can't catch me bugs through the camera. That's a good thing. Alright, so again, this one, I was just messing, experimenting really. That's what it's all about for me. And I know sometimes when you're at home on your own, you're perhaps a little bit timid about just experimenting, but honestly, if you can just let go and have fun, honestly, things you can do is quite remarkable. So don't ever be afraid. I mean, at the end of the day, if it don't work out, what's that? It's a bit of card, you know. Yeah, I know it costs pennies, but it's not the end of the world. So let me take this down now. I do quite often like to actually stencil with my stencil taped down properly, especially when I'm using pastes, which is what I'm going to be doing next. So I am going to tape this down just on two sides. Again, once I've made this panel, I am going to trim it down, so it doesn't matter if I do get anything outside the panel, but I want it to be held firmly down. So I'm going to be using the clear texture paste from Jamie Rodgers Crafts. Funny that. Now, I don't know if you've seen this or used it, but I was quite surprised. It wasn't what I was expecting at all when I opened it. It's very, very thick gel, and it's fabulous because it holds its shape. It doesn't go under your stencil. It can hold other materials like glitter, flake, and these Enchanted Sprinkles really, really well. You can mix it with other things like the Elite Misters. So for instance, if you mix it with a bit of this, because it's so thick, it's not going to do it any harm if it thins it down slightly. So it's a really lovely gel, and also I reckon you could use it like a gel medium, because that's what it is. So yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised, and I've found it really responsive to everything I've tried with it, so loving that. So the first thing I want to do is stencil with this through the Drops of Wonder stencil. I'm just first of all applying quite a rough coat up at the top of the stencil, and then I'm going to bring in a spreader. You don't have to, but it is something I like to do just because it saves a lot of time, and it also saves quite a lot of paste. So you can get these plastic or metal for spreading your paste. Get it down at a low angle and then drag that paste across, and you'll find it's pretty much filled your stencil. Just a few bits there that we've missed, but we can go back. So if you want a really perfect smooth finish, that's a great way to achieve it. I don't particularly on this occasion, I just wanted to get the paste down quickly. So I'm actually going to now go back and rough it all up again. Because I can. But again, you don't want so much paste on top of your stencil that you're washing most of it away afterwards. So just, you know, you want to be economical. So I'm just going to very gently this time take that down, but look how much has come off, and that can all now go back in my jar. That goes in water, and I can just wipe that off as long as I do it straight away. Okay, now because of what I'm going to do next, that's another reason why I don't want too much waste on here. I'm going to put the lid back on that, and I'm going to bring in the coral Enchanted Sprinkles. I can find it. I put them all back in the box, which was a bad move. Here we are. Coral pink. So I'm going to sprinkle this just gently. I don't want too much. So the moisture in the paste will begin to activate this, but not as much obviously as water does. But if I start to manipulate this, can you see? It's going to start moving. So I'm going to start moving this about through that gel, through that paste. I don't want it solid, I don't want it perfect. If I did want it perfect, then I might as well have mixed that powder into the, sorry, my camera went off. Mix the powder into this first. Just make a pile on your mat, sprinkle some powder in, mix it together, and you can colorise this to whatever colour you want. But I don't want it to be a solid colour, I want some variation across this panel. So I'm just mixing it here and there. I can always go and add a little bit more, and just keep it moving. You've plenty of working time with this, don't panic. The Texture paste is water based, so it's all going to clean up with water, so there's nothing going to take any harm by leaving it sitting a few minutes. But can you see now how that's giving different effects depending on the concentration of powder and where I've put it? And you can manipulate that until you're happy with the level of colour you've got. I do like to have some stronger areas and some paler areas. I don't want it super smooth either. So that's it. Now that's another reason for taping your stencil down, because trying to do all that working of the paste with a loose stencil, you're going to be in a world of pain, because as soon as your card contacts moisture, it starts to bow underneath your stencil, and that's when you start to get things moving underneath. So having it taped down helps prevent that from happening. I just wanted a bit stronger colour there, so I'm just moving it around a bit more. Okay, I'll stop there. But you can go, you know, like I say, you've a bit of working time, no need to panic with this. Just wipe off anything that's got paste on it. Obviously put your nozzle back on. Can you see that? It looks dreadful, doesn't it? But honestly, it's lovely. Let's get the tape off. Now I try to not get messy, but you know, I just roll it up like that as I'm taking it off. Okay, and then we can lift the stencil. Straight into water with that. Okay, let's get rid of the mess. Now then, can you see that? So it's got variegated colour. It's got texture where I've scraped it because I didn't want it super smooth. And some of it's got like almost like little wrinkles in it, little dimples, which is really quite nice. If you have a look at this area here, I don't know where we can pick that up. There, can you see that? So it's not super smooth, it's not flat, and I quite like that. But if you want it super smooth, then use the spreader and scrape it really flat. You can certainly do that. So obviously that now needs to dry. It takes about half an hour, if that. It's quite good, it dries quite quickly. But do be aware that sometimes with things like this, they can appear dry because they form a skin, but actually underneath it can still be soft, and so when you start manipulating it, it can actually disturb it. So I've done one earlier, and I now want to do some inking on this, and I'm going to be using those lovely metallic inks again. So let me just find the colours that I want. I'm going to use Minty Fresh, Sea Breeze Blue, a little bit of the Sunset Red, and the Brushed Gold. I think those are what I want to use. Again, the choice is yours. And I'm going to ink all over this now, because this, being a paste, will resist what you put on top of it. So you can go to town inking as much as you like. So like I said, if your ink pad's been sat a little while, you just need to kind of, what I'm doing is pushing my brush into the pad, and that's bringing the ink up to the surface. Okay, and then I'm going to start inking over this. And it's lovely because where the ink hits the edges of those raised little drops of wonder, it kind of forms a line around. It gives it a really interesting halo almost, for want of a better word. So just do patches of colour. Keep blending. See how suddenly now the ink, it's a lot stronger because I've got it moving in the pad. So if you've got these and you've been wondering, you know, you're not getting enough ink off them, they're fine if you use them direct to paper, like I did with the black one. So if you go direct to paper like this, smoosh it, they're fine because that's moving it and getting it activated. But if you're trying to blend like this, I do find you need to get it moving. Alright, so that's that one. Let's go in with a little bit of the Minty Fresh. So again, because my inks have been sat a little while, I'm going to tap them a few times, and then you can take off the excess. And now we can come in with that. Again, I'm only doing it multicoloured because that's what I want it to do, but you can do it in one single colour and it doesn't matter. You can certainly take the ink pad direct to paper, and what I would then recommend is that I've just got a bit of kitchen roll here. I wouldn't use anything like a baby wipe, it's too wet. Just rub back the surface dots, and a little bit comes off but not a huge amount. Okay. A little bit of green up here. You can go back over these inks as well because they're very creamy. So sometimes when you've already inked and then you want to go back and you start to get lines and blobs because they don't blend very well once they've set into the card. I didn't find I had this problem with these at all. So you can keep blending till you're happy with the strength that you've got. So going with the blue. And even going direct without tapping off any excess, I didn't find I got too many blobs. So really nice, yeah. Loving these, Jamie, thank you. And you know I love my inks. Okay. So what do we need now? A little bit of red. It's interesting because when I was sort of thinking about colours, and I thought, ooh, red, this is coral, this is pinky peachy, and this is red, but actually it's a very similar colour, and I felt it worked really well. So I'm going to go with this Sunset Red. It is a pinky red, and it just worked really nicely over this. So, but I don't want too much red in here. Just a little bit down. And then of course when you start to blend over the boundaries between the colours, you get secondary colours. They do blend together as well and overlay, so you can create a complete rainbow blend across your paper, which is really nice. Got a little bit of red down here, so we're going to get a kind of orange with red and yellow. And then just have a look and see if you've got any gaps, or if you want a bit more of one colour or more of another colour. I mean, I'm really giving you the nitty gritty here, but hopefully it'll help you. Be confident to have a go at something like this if you've never done it before. I think we can talk ourselves out of things so easily, and I just think you can do it. Just have a go. Just have a go. What have you got to lose? I always feel it's best to have a go and say at least you tried than to not have a go and always wonder what if. I try and apply that philosophy to life, but it doesn't always work, but at least I can say I've tried, and that's the main thing. So give it a go, don't be scared. Alright, so here I have my rainbow drops of wonder. I would spend a little bit longer blending that better if I was on my own. And the paste stays glossy and it keeps its colour. It does take on a little bit of the ink if you want it to, and you can just leave it and it will dry on the surface. Those metallic inks are quite wonderful, but if you really want to clean it up, then just go in with a very slightly damp towel and wipe it off. A little bit comes off, but I don't mind. It gives another blend and another graduation to what you're working on. Okay, so that's clear texture paste with Enchanted Sprinkles blended over the top, but not blended very well, or not blended very evenly. Just manipulate it so it you know, you get patches here and there. Let that dry and then over ink, and that's the panel. If you don't want to over ink, of course, you can just leave it white, and that looks really nice as well. So it's up to you. If you like a nice clean look, that would work as well. All right, so what I then did was made a piece of card with the same powder. So this was the coral pink, and with this one I've sprinkled the powder on dry, spritzed it with water and let it dry, and then when it's dry I like to just give it a little buff, because sometimes you get a little residue. I must say again, these powders are much better than a lot of them that I've worked with in the past, where you used to get loads of powder coming off afterwards. It just didn't fix. These do fix really, really well. You can see there's hardly anything coming off there at all. So once I've done that, then I've die cut some butterflies, and I've been a bit naughty because I wasn't supposed to be using these, but sorry Jamie, I've got the new butterflies from the garden collection. So these are the smaller butterflies, and they match perfectly the original big butterflies. So I've used these to cut butterflies out of this piece of paper, and I've also used this piece of paper to cut my sentiment from. So die cutting through the cardstock made with your Enchanted Sprinkles is another fantastic technique and works beautifully. So I've done that and cut out a sentiment, cut out some butterflies, and then I've used a couple of the borders from the patchwork collection, and I've cut that panel down into squares. Can you see that? The background here is actually the background I made last week when I was working with the pub. My historical home, apparently. But that was the panel I made with the Elite Misters, and it had dried, and when I came back to look at it I thought, oh, that's going to be perfect for this project. So I cut it out with the postage stamp rectangle and the stitched edge to get my back panel, and then 2 squares, and I've framed those with one of the frames from the patchwork collection. And then I've got the butterflies and my sentiment from that piece of card that I've created with the Enchanted Sprinkles onto cardstock and then die cut through it. So you can see how well that works. So that's another technique you can use these powders for. And I think that is a lovely, colourful, happy card, isn't it? So there we go. So that's our second effort, and somebody could win that if you're going to name our giraffe. What would you call our fabulous giraffe if you could name him? That's your question for tonight, and somebody could win those 2 cards that I've sort of made tonight. I've done bits of them, but you will get the full card. You won't just get a bag of bits. Not that there's anything wrong with a bag of bits. I quite like a bag of bits, but there you go. Right, so next I'm going to do a different version similar to what I've just done, but I'm using a couple of different techniques here. And look at that, I've got ink under my nail. Wonderful. Don't bother me, I'll wash up afterwards, it'll all come off. I just need to find this one, the Woven Lines stencil. This is the one I'm going to use next. Now I am going to take this down again just on one side this time, because I'm going to ink first. Okay, and this time I'm going to be working with Black Panther. So this is the quick dry pigment ink that Jamie has, and it's a really fast drying pigment ink, I have to say. You can emboss with it, but you have to be fairly quick. But it's nice, again, it's another ink that's nice for blending, and it's great for putting through stencils. So I've got another blending brush here. If you don't have blending brushes, you can use traditional stencil brushes like this. Sometimes these are better for getting into really small detail because they're a bit stiffer, so you can get them into the corners, but this is fine. So I'm going to ink all the way through. I won't do all this because it does take a while to ink the whole thing. Oh no, sorry. My nose is running, sorry, bear with me a sec. Right, carry on. This is because my lovely daughter's come back from uni and brought the bugs with her, like they do. Anyway. Right, so I'm inking. I want to get this fairly strong. I love this ink because it's not really black. It's almost like a graphite. It really is like a pencil, you know, graphite pencil colour. It's lovely. And yet when you stamp with it, it looks black. It's funny, isn't it? I guess it's because I'm blending it out doing it like this. So you do get a lesser of a concentration. I'll just do a little bit more and then I'll show you the next step to this. And then luckily I have one I did earlier. I do find as well with these ink pads you actually need to stroke the brush across them because it's a hard pad, so doing that, tapping, doesn't actually achieve very much, even though I keep doing it. But you do actually need to sweep your brush across. These are all things I've learned through using them. Alright, so now what I want to do before I do my next step is just wipe what I can back off the stencil, so it's not going to contaminate what I'm going to do next. So I'm just, with my kitchen paper, and it's just dry, I'm just taking off any wet ink that's sitting on my stencil. Take that off. Okay. Now, if I take that off, you'll see what a lovely pattern that is. Isn't it gorgeous? What I want to do now is what I call a pattern shift. Let me move that because that's just muddying the waters. So it helps if you remember which way you had your stencil to start with. If you start flipping it over, you might get a bit lost. What I do, put the stencil back where it was, line everything up again where it was, and then I'm going to shift the stencil to the right. You see that pattern revealed now? And slightly down. So check that the shift is even right across your pattern and that your shift is even at the bottom there. I've gone a bit too far. It's better. So across and down, and then check that you only need to look at one line, the spacing's even, and then tape it back in place. Okay. Now I'm going to take the other side down now for the next stage. So back onto a piece of paper, just check it hasn't shifted, and then take that down. Okay, now for this one I'm going to use some of the Gemstones texture paste, and I'm going to be using the Diamond White, and I'm also going to use some of the Enchanted Sprinkles. So this time I'm going to be using Cherry Pop. So this is a really vibrant pink one. So I'm going to again apply the paste through the stencil just quickly with my palette knife, and in effect I'm doing what I did with the droplets, but I'm using a different paste, a different powder and a different stencil, but the result is going to be so different. And this is what's lovely when you actually start to let yourself go and experiment with things. Even if you follow the same formula but use just different colours, different patterns, you'll get different results, and that's magic. So I'm just going to pick up what I can. It's slightly grubby because it's got a bit of that grey ink in it, but it's fine. It'll be fine. Okay, and now I'm going to do what I did with those droplets of wonder. Oh, my computer's playing up tonight, not off. So, again, tap, 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 just a little bit. This is super strong. And then start to spread it. Now this paste is not such a thick body as the clear texture paste, so you can see how it's wet that powder much more quickly and it started to move much more quickly. So you don't need as much on here and you don't need to work it as much. But just keep manipulating that until you've got cover. But I do like to still keep a little bit of the paler colour coming through. I don't want it all pink, or again I may as well have just mixed my powder in with my paste. So that's something you can do, but it's not what I wanted to do on this occasion. If I had another stencil handy I would have stuck that through it and used it. I wouldn't waste it, but I haven't at the moment, so I'll just wipe that off. And again, carefully remove your tape. Making sure you don't shift your stencil, and then lift that off and drop that into water. Now, I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera, but let's give it a go. And bear in mind I only shadow dropped half the pattern, but if you look at this half where I did the pattern shift, can you see how we've now got a shadow? Whereas on this side where I didn't do it, we haven't. So you can do it with or without. I quite like that effect. I wouldn't do it every day, but I do like it once in a while. It's just another option. It just gives your stencils a different look. And it gives you something else to do with them. So I need to pop that to dry. And I can show you the one I did earlier, which is dry now. And I can't decide which way up I like it, but can you see the shadow on that? It's difficult because it looks like the light's casting a shadow, but there actually is a shadow. It's slightly smaller than the one I've just done, so how much you shift your stencil will give you a different look. But I like that. It gives it really kind of three-dimensional appearance. So that's my panel. Obviously I've trimmed it down already. And then one other thing I wanted to try, oops, I just rubbed that paste all over my hands. That was a bit silly, wasn't it? Bear with me a sec. Dear. This does come off with soap and water, by the way. Don't worry about that. It just stains because it's so concentrated in dye. So that's my panel, and then I wanted to use the Rippled Star Blooms, and I wanted to make them fit with this project. So I found that the Fuchsia Pink metallic ink was a really good match for this particular colour that I ended up with, which was the Cherry Pop and the Polar White texture paste. So I wanted a flower that would match. I could have left it white, but I like to try and make things work together and mix them together. So that's what I was going to do with this. So I'm going to take the ink pad direct to the flower, and you can just swipe this over the flower gently, and it will pick up all that lovely embossed detail. My flower is slightly curled, so it's not getting down into the middle of the petals. So you can do this and make them solid colour, or you can do them very gently and then the embossed lines will stay white. So again, options, different looks, choices. Oh, so hard, it makes my brain hurt. Well, it doesn't really, it just gives me more things to play with, which is fabulous. I say that wasn't ideal because my flower, it's already curled at the edges. Flipping that down a bit more. So it needs to be flat, so you need to do this before you start shaping your flowers, not like me. Actually, I quite like that because it's getting darker edges. Happy accident, as they say. Anyway, that's what I did. And I did about 8 layers of that flower, different sizes, and did them all with that particular ink pad. Oh, okay, are we all still there? Mine keeps going off. So, you can colour that flower however you like. You can have, as I say, solid, or you can do it a bit more carefully than I've done, get the white lines showing, or you can just have it variegated like mine is. I quite like that actually. It was an accident, but I do quite like that. Anyway, that's what I did for my flower. I then decided that this was rather strong for me to put a sentiment against. So I used that lovely trick of putting some vellum across it and added my sentiment onto that. So here's the finished example. So there's that lovely flower. You can see my bigger petals I did solid, and then as I've come into the centre I've done them where I've left the white lines visible, so I've done it more gently over the top with the ink pad, and then stacked it. I think, like I say, I've got 6 layers on that one. But don't those colours work well together? And this is what I'm finding with Jamie's collections. I don't know why I sound surprised, because I'm not at all, because he thinks everything through. But things really work together, and I love it when that happens. So there's another example, and that's done with the pattern shift on the stencil, polar white texture paste, and one of the Enchanted Sprinkles spread through it just randomly to get that graduated effect. So there we are. That's another one. Finito. How are we doing for time? Oh my goodness. I have been waffling, haven't I? Let me come and say hello to see what we've got going on. Thank you so much. Thank you all very much. Glad you're enjoying it. I have one more. Well, I have a lot more actually. But would anybody like me to carry on? Or are you wanting to go off and have your tea? I'll just do one more. This is just a technique again. I do like techniques, and I quite often I'll end up with loads of things made, and then I think, what am I going to do with them? And it's a challenge sometimes to actually make something from them. So I wanted to really show you how, as I say, these, although they are DL stencils, you're certainly not limited to using them in that way. So this one, if I can find it, it uses that lovely oriental screen pattern, and if you're going to do this technique that I'm going to show you now, you need to find a pattern that repeats. This one's quite geometric, as you can see, and it has definite lines and cubes through it, so that's something you need to sort of look for if you want to do something like this. Okay. So again, I'm going to tape it down. I'm going to be using the clear texture paste this time again. I'm just going to tape it on 2 sides. And then I am going to put the paste through that. Now this time I do want it fairly smooth, so I'm going to put, what I do, I put quite a lot at one end of my stencil, and then I use my spreader to move it down. So that's what I'm going to do. And you'll find you get a really good coverage. There are bits that you miss inevitably as you run out of paste, but you can just go back and add a little bit. Doing it this way as well is really quick, so it gives your card less chance to start bowing and causing problems. But as I say, with this paste, it doesn't get underneath anyway, because it's a lovely thick paste. It's fabulous. Right, so that's that. Look how much I've saved by doing it that way as well. That all can go back in the jar. Okay, that into water. Now I'm just simply going to sprinkle a selection of colours into this. So let's have a look. Let's go sunshine yellow. Let's have a blue. There's 2 blues, isn't there? Tidal teal. yeah, let's go tidal teal, sunshine yellow, and what shall we go for? Orchid. Let's go with those three. Doesn't really matter, random pick, just choose 3 or 4, however many you want to use. And I'm just going to randomly, I'll try and do this so you can see, tap these onto that paste here and there. And what happens, you get some of the powders, as you've seen, have multicolours in them anyway, but when they mingle you'll get even more colours. So it's a really fabulous way of getting a surprise in a way every time. So this is the tidal teal. And again, you don't have to cover every centimetre of the pattern because these powders move anyway. You can leave a little bit uncovered if you wish. Now this is the orchid, so this is a really vibrant colour. As you can see, it could take over if you're not careful, and if you mingle them too much, you will end up with a bit of a, like with any dye, when you mix your dyes overly so, you will end up with a muddy colour. Right, now I'm going to mist this, but I'm going to mist it from a distance. I'm just using plain water in a mister bottle, and I'm just going to very lightly mist it. I don't want to wet it too much because I don't want to get everything liquid, but I just want to wet it enough to activate those powders. Okay, so that's done, and now I can again remove my tape, which for some reason is stuck to my paper down there. And then I'll get my stencil into water, and that actually would make a fabulous paint. There's enough pigment on there, well, dye on there, to, when it colours your water, you'll see, you think, oh, I could use that water as a paint. You could almost decant it into a bottle and use it as a mister. There we go. So that's a bit different. That's a multicoloured, quite textural panel, and you can see those powders will continue to move until the paste is dry. And what happens when you do this, I've discovered, is that you actually get almost like little crazed crackled effects. It's really lovely. So it's a bit different doing it that way, but yeah, I'm really loving that. And then, as I say, my goal was to show you how you can create different cards, not just DL. Obviously that's going to make a stunning DL panel, and you can pop that straight onto a card, no problem there. But let me show you what I did with it. So what I've done, I've chopped it into 3 strips, and that's why I said about choosing a pattern that repeats, or a geometric pattern. I've literally cut it between these 3 strips, and then I've shortened it either end to keep the pattern symmetrical, top and bottom, and then spread those out so that I could make a bigger card. I can't remember, it's almost a 7x5, I don't think it might be slightly smaller than a 7x5, but and then I've done that trick again, putting the vellum over and the sentiment on that one. So don't always think because your stencil's DL your card's got to be DL, because it certainly doesn't, and I'm sure you've seen now by some of the samples from the design team that that's not the case either. So do experiment, don't be afraid to chop things up. Just because something comes to you in one form doesn't mean it has to stay in that form. Oh, I should tell my husband that. We just had 35-year wedding anniversary, so yeah, I can say that. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed that. I will stop there because time is a-passing. I could go on for a week, honestly. So hopefully at some point in the future we'll get to do some more tricks and techniques like this. So let's just recap on what news we've got. So Jamie will be with you on Monday at 7 o'clock on the Jamie Rodgers Crafts page, where he will be talking about, well, he'll be doing a sneaky peek, and there might be jingle bells involved, I'm not sure. Okay, our winner from last week, Christine, had some cards in the post, and we would like to send some more out tonight. So if you have a name that you would like our giraffe to adopt, then pop it in the comments. We will pick a winner at random, and we will ask you then to get in touch and send us your address, and we'll send something out to you in the post. A couple of the things I've made tonight, and if you would like them signing, please let us know, and then I can do that as well. All right, so I think that's it for tonight. Don't forget, Jamie's homework was #traditional, #traditional Christmas, so reds, greens and golds, and pop that onto the created with Jamie Rodgers, and you can win, I believe, a £40 goodie bag from that one, so that's incredible. Have a go at that. Your entries have to be in by 5 p.m. on Monday the 30th. Excuse me. And the winner will then be announced from there. Okie dokie. I think that's it. So I will wish you all a very good evening. Thank you so much for bearing with me and staying with me and joining me in the first place. It's an absolute treat. So till next time, take care, be good to each other. See you next time.